Life in the 21st century is hard to imagine if you take away things like the internet, cell phones, cars, and electricity. They're just part of everyday life now. It's almost impossible to picture things without them. But there's a group of people who have made a choice to live without all that. They're living in today's world, but it's like they're living in the 17th century. I'm talking about the Amish, a religious group who live their lives by steering clear of most of what modern civilization offers. Their lifestyle is surprising, raises some eyebrows, and can even be kind of admirable. Today, we're going to look at 10 rules that the Amish live by that really make their world different from ours. So, who exactly are the Amish, and why do they have so many rules? Well, the Amish came from the Anabaptists, who were part of a Protestant movement that started in Europe way back in the 1500s. A guy named Jacob Ammann founded the Amish way of life. He believed in strict rules, staying modest, and not getting mixed up with the outside world. Back in the 1700s, the Amish were getting hassled in Europe, so they moved to North America in big numbers. Most of them still live there today, mostly in the United States and Canada. The way the Amish live is controlled by something called Ordnung. These are basically a set of rules that can be different from one community to the next, but they're always based on being modest, sticking together, and keeping outside influences away. Let's take a look at some of the biggest rules that shape Amish culture. Rule number 1, no electricity. The Amish don't use electricity, especially not the kind that comes from the power grid. The big reason is they want to be self-sufficient and keep the outside world from creeping in. They see electricity as something that leads to comfort, laziness, and opens the door to other risky stuff like TV, the internet, and appliances. Now, they do allow some types of energy. For example, they might use diesel generators on the farm, but only to power things that are needed for their work. Inside their houses, you'll find kerosene lamps for light. They use wood-burning stoves to stay warm in the winter. This is how they keep things simple and stay independent. For them, electricity messes with family closeness and pulls people away from their faith. Sometimes they'll allow the use of batteries, but only for certain things. Like they might charge a flashlight or a medical device. But computers, TVs, and microwaves, those are hard no. Rule number 2, no phones or internet. Cell phones, landlines, anything that gets you online, those are off limits in their daily lives. The reason is that they think phones and the internet lead to wasting time, ruin relationships, and let unwanted stuff from other cultures into their lives. Some communities will have a public phone that's not in someone's house, like in a barn or out on the street. This is for emergencies, like calling a doctor or getting in touch with a supplier. But having a phone at home or carrying one around is a no-go. The internet is looked at as something that's morally dangerous. Getting online, using social media, even reading the news, it's all seen as pointless and a risk. They want information to come through face-to-face conversations or printed stuff that the community approves of. This is how they protect themselves from the outside world and keep things peaceful inside. Rule number 3, no cars. The Amish don't drive or own cars. Their main way of getting around is horse-drawn carriages, which they call buggies. It's not just about the technology. They see cars as a symbol of doing your own thing, being free and rushing through life. That goes against what the Amish believe, living at a slower pace, being mindful, living in harmony with nature and their community. Here's a fun fact. They can hire someone to drive them, or take a taxi if they need to, like if they're going to the hospital or the market. But they'll never be the ones behind the wheel. Buying or owning a car is not allowed. They also have rules about what the buggies look like. They have specific colors and shapes that each community uses. This is to avoid showing off, competing with each other, and to stay modest. The buggies usually have reflectors so they can be seen at night, because a lot of states have some basic safety rules. Rule number 4. No modern music or entertainment. The Amish don't play musical instruments or listen to music like we do. Anything that stirs up strong feelings is seen as messing with their inner peace. They think music can lead to being proud, stir up desires, and take their attention away from their faith. Instead, they sing psalms and hymns, usually without instruments. It's not really for fun. It's more like worship and bringing the community together. Singing together makes them feel closer and reminds them to follow God's will. Things like TV, radio, and movies are also completely banned. They see those things as harmful because they show violence, bad behavior, and focus too much on money and stuff. Saying no to TV and movies helps them stay away from the influences of the outside world. Sometimes, young Amish people will get a chance to see what modern culture is like during a time called Rumspringa. This is when they're allowed to leave the community for a bit. They might get to listen to music or watch TV, but after that, they have to make a choice. Come back to the community and follow the rules, or stay in a world. So those are the first 4 big rules that shape how the Amish live. No electricity, phones, cars, or modern music. They're not just giving up conveniences. They're turning their backs on symbols of today's world. Their lives are based on being modest, living simply, and staying true to their faith. These rules help them stay stable, keep their community strong, and maintain their inner peace. Okay, so the Amish way of living has some pretty interesting rules, right? It's not just about being old-fashioned. It's tied to their beliefs and how they see the world. Let's look at some of their big no-nos. Specialize photos and videos. Nope. For most of us, snapping photos is totally normal. But for the Amish, it's a serious deal. They think getting your picture taken, especially close-ups of your face, can make you too proud. They take the Bible seriously when it says not to worship idols. To them, a photo can be like making yourself an idol. Being humble is super important in their culture. So, posing for a photo? That's seen as risky because it puts too much focus on me, myself, and I. Some Amish even think that photos can, steal your soul. That's not a super common idea, but you hear it sometimes, especially with the really traditional groups. Bottom line, taking someone's picture without asking is a big no-no, like invading their personal space and messing with their spirit. Videos are bad news for the same reasons. Even if they end up in a video by mistake, say when tourists are filming in Pennsylvania or Ohio, they try to look away from the camera. People showing respect means not filming them if they don't want to be. Some communities are so serious about this that they don't even want their people keeping pictures that outsiders send them. Clothes and buttons. There are rules. Amish clothes aren't just clothes. They're like a statement. They show that everyone's equal, modest, and part of the group. There are rules for everything. Colors, styles, what the clothes are made of, even what kind of buttons, or no buttons, you can use. Guys wear plain pants, shirts without collars, vests and hats with wide brims. Colors are always simple. Black, dark blue, gray. Women wear long dresses that cover their arms and legs. They also wear aprons and bonnets, those white hats. They usually sew their own clothes, showing that they rely on themselves. And about those buttons, a lot of Amish groups say absolutely no to them. Women's clothes. Why? Because buttons used to be linked to military uniforms, and the Amish don't like anything that smacks violence or being showy. So, They use hooks and loops instead. Some of the less strict groups let men wear shirts with buttons, but they have to be plain and useful, not flashy. What you wear tells everyone where you stand. If you break the rules, wrong color, dress too short, weird hat, you'll get called out. Sometimes you might even get kicked out of the group. Basically, clothes are an instant way to tell if someone's Amish and which kind of Amish they are. They really don't go in for fashion. Clothes don't change with the seasons. They don't follow trends. The whole point is to avoid wanting to stand out. No extras allowed. No jewelry, makeup, or fancy shoes with brand names. Shoes are black, simple, tough, and have no logos. So, what they wear shows commitment to the group and rejection of showing off. School only up to 8th grade. The Amish stop going to school after 8th grade. That's on purpose. It's not that they're dumb or anything. It's a decision based on their culture and religion. They do not use education to start a career, become a scientist, or just get smart. They use it to work hard, be disciplined, and stay humble. Amish schools usually have just one room and are located in the community. The teachers are generally young women from the community who have some training. They teach in English, not Pennsylvania Dutch, the language they use every day. They learn to read, write, do math, and learn some basic history and geography. But the most important thing is the Bible and other religious reading. Why stop so early? Because they think more education can be risky. Going to high school and college can make people think for themselves, become too independent, and want big careers. All of that can make them leave the community. Also, they believe that the best way to prep for life is by working, not studying. Boys start working on farms when they're young, and girls help at home and learn to be wives and mothers. Stopping school at 8th grade was challenged in court, but the U.S. Supreme Court sided with the Amish in 1972, Wisconsin versus Yoder. The court said that forcing Amish kids to go to school against their will goes against their religious freedom. That was really important for them because it allows them to control their school. Insurance and loans? Not a chance. The Amish don't want anything to do with state health insurance, retirement plans, or any help from the government. They feel responsible within the community to care for the sick and the elderly. They share responsibility with each other, not the state. They put money in internal funds, and each member of the community donates. They also avoid taking out loans from banks. Buying things with loans is unsafe because it creates dependence, and working is most important. If someone can't pay for something, wait and save money, and work more hours to afford it. Having good saving habits is part of their religion. This all adds up to a really stable way of living. The Amish usually don't owe a lot of money. They almost never have financial difficulties or support inside the community. If someone has problems, the whole community helps. So it's more than not being allowed to have cameras, buttons, diplomas, and credit cards. These things are like symbols of a world they're trying to keep out. Their lives are choices for things that are simple, about working, and things that are sacred. Okay, so we've been looking at just how deeply the Amish way of life is shaped by their rules. It's not just about ditching electricity and the internet. It's about building a whole culture around being humble, disciplined, and working together. Every no-no has a reason, and it usually boils down to keeping their faith strong and their community tight-knit. Now, let's check out some of the other rules they live by, especially when it comes to money, getting around, and dealing with the government. Then, we'll wrap it all up by asking, what do the Amish actually get out of this lifestyle? Rule number 9, no bikes, sometimes. At first glance, a bicycle seems like a pretty simple, green, and modest way to get around, right? So, why do some Amish communities ban them? Well, it's all about keeping things equal and controlling how easily people can move around. A bike lets you travel much faster and further than walking, or even using a horse and buggy. This gives people more freedom, and that could create some distance between them and the community. Some of the more traditional Amish groups see bikes as a threat to their way of life. They worry that even a small bit of technology can open the door to bigger changes. They even have a term for it, technological creep, which means that once you allow one small thing, you might soon feel pressured to allow other new stuff. But here's the thing, not all Amish groups ban bikes. The more relaxed communities allow them, but with some rules. For example, you might see people using scooters with big wheels that they made themselves. These scooters let them move faster than walking, but they don't really break that symbolic barrier between people and technology. So the bike rule shows how important it is to the Amish that they don't just look at how useful a technology is, but how it could change their spiritual and community structure. Rule number 10. No government pensions or welfare. The Amish don't participate in most government programs that offer assistance, like pensions, welfare, or subsidies. Their main thing is that families in the community should take care of each other, not the government. They see outside involvement as a threat to their independence and their ability to take care of themselves. Since 1965, a special law in the U.S. has let the Amish skip paying Social Security taxes, but only if they promise they'll never ask for government benefits. This legally cements the special position of these communities. So, how do they take care of the elderly or sick? They have their own support systems. Every working Amish person puts some money into a community fund. When someone needs medical care or other help, the money comes from this fund. You'll also often see people donating to help each other out. If there's a fire or illness or loss of property, the whole community steps in. This system builds a lot of responsibility and dependence on each other. It makes the group stronger and less likely to be hurt by outside financial problems. But giving up pensions and insurance also means that everyone in the community needs to be financially careful and ready to help others at any time. Thanks for watching. Subscribe so you don't miss new videos. Be with us.